digitaljamsessions.com. Hello and welcome to this Digital Jam session, coming to you live from Comic-Con London 2015, where we'll be joined by a number of the guests attending the show. So, first of all, if you could just explain who you are individually, starting from this side.
I'm Joseph Milson. I'm part of Wireless web series, playing Falcon.
I am Augusta Woods, also part of the Wireless web series, playing Cookie.
I'm Andrew Lee Potts. I direct the web series Wireless and co-created it, and I star in it as Jacob Crow.
Hey, my name's Sim. I play the character Skimmer, which is part of the Gambits, and yes, I am a proud member of the Wireless team.
Awesome, thank you and welcome. So one of the things about the Wireless web series is that obviously you're talking about next generation technology and this police detective who's not really there so much as a Siri-like voice in the background. And in terms of the new technology that's out there, I'm curious to understand whether or not you think there is some scope or some space in Wireless to be using things like virtual reality technology.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely scope. Any sort of technology within Wireless that's pushing things forward, as it were, I think it would live in the world and sit in the world quite well. So, yeah.
That's exactly what it's about. Yeah.
And how would you see the next generation of your artificial detective happening in series? What would you think would be the next evolution for her?
That's an interesting question. Well, at the moment we've got her she was primarily in the car, but she can now travel into any wireless device known to man. So which gives her a lot of scope, really. And she can control a thing called the Ghost, which is the smallest drone ever invented, which now so she can be my eyes when I'm on the street, which helps within policing. And also she's there even when I don't want her to be. But yeah, so that's where we're at the moment. But we've got a lot more futuristic technology coming into it, and a lot of it's introduced by the Gambits, who are the elite hackers of Europe, put together by Skimmer. Okay, so what was the inspiration for utilising this technology story in terms of this idea of this artificial partner and hackers and involving that scope of storytelling? Well, primarily we wanted it more like when we first came up with the idea, we thought about an idea a bit like Ex Machina, she was going to be a little bit like that. But due to budget, and obviously we couldn't produce that because it's all kind of self-funded at the moment. So often with short films or web series, the restraints make it become what it becomes. So it grew from us going, how can we do this? How can she be a personality within the car? And then the idea of obviously placing her within the car or the wireless world came to fruition due to budget stuff. Now, if she was, going back to the next generation question, if she was to be a farm, I'm sure Lucy Brown would be quite chuffed, wouldn't she? Because she'd be in it. No, there's nothing wrong with her face either. It's not like we're hiding. Okay, so if you were, let's say, because you mentioned budget a couple of times there, so let's say we don't have constraints around budget, and that car could be any car. What car would it have been?
I rather think that's what's brilliant about it. It's like the best cop cars are the ones that are undercover. You don't see, and suddenly a blue light goes on a normal brown BMW that's behind you. And the fact that it's a chip and a device that can go into kind of any vehicle is part of what's cool about it. If you saw some incredible Batmobile coming up the road, you might be suspicious.
Yeah, that's true. And there's a lot of people within the wireless world that are trying to get their hands on the technology. Reasons would become apparent. But even if they now, because the way Casper's designed it, that she can travel wirelessly through anything, so when she's not she can't be caught, which is really interesting. She can't be tracked, which is one of the interesting things of wireless, and you're going to see that grow. Okay. So bearing in mind that in this real world that we live in, next generation technology is evolving really quickly, and we're seeing smaller and smaller devices, smaller and smaller wearables happening, all sorts of new and interesting technology. What's the one piece of technology that really stands out for you in your day-to-day real life, or what's the piece that you would really love to see happen?
I was going to say that in day-to-day life you don't stop seeing anyone on their phones. It's just the biggest thing, even when you're sitting on a tube. It's just phones. So and I don't feel like we've seen anything about a phone being like there's nothing that's out. So it does shape everyone's lives, really. Controls you. So.
It does. It does.
It's bad, isn't it?
It is bad. Yeah, I do get guilt. I get phone guilt.
I get phone guilt too. So
I know I
guilty.
shouldn't be on this right now.
No, no.
But
So
everybody
guilty.
else is doing it.
Yeah, well, if they're doing it,
I saw a brilliant picture that was posted on Facebook or Twitter, and it was like, "What's wrong with this man?" And it was just loads of people waiting for a train, and everybody was looking at their phone. There's just one dude.
We have a box in our house, a big metal wooden box with a big lid, and there's a padlock, and there's a big sign on it, and it says "Don't be divisive." And our kids have to drop their devices.
Oh,
It doesn't
that's
work
nice.
always. In fact, my stepson has already cracked the code.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Too smart, these kids.
Too clever
That's
for his
cool,
own
though.
good.
That's
Too
cool.
clever for his own good. So if there was a problem that you felt technology could solve in general, what would be the one thing that you would like to see technology try and
Yeah,
address?
the drawer that matches and finds socks.
Yeah.
That's my one.
What about you?
Or self-closing drawers, because my wife cannot close a drawer.
Self-closing
All over.
lines.
Just I think like a key finder.
They've had them in case catalogues since 1984.
I'm so dated.
I'll get you one for Christmas.
Yeah.
Please do this.
They've got them here.
What about you?
Oh gosh, I was going to say find your phone. That's really bad. No, iPhone tracker. That's already bad. That's already bad. It's already
Damn
bad.
Mac stuff.
What would make your life easier?
What's it on the next Mac? Like really quick makeup shoot.
Oh wow.
Is that a problem that you often...
You're
No, my girl talks about that kind of stuff.
really?
Yeah, so
Oh,
it
right,
seems to be some
His
sort
girl
of
I was
talks
going
about
to say
that
a
kind of
mute
stuff.
button, but yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
that's
a Mac.
cool.
A mute button. No offense.
We've gone off the question.
Yeah, we've gone way out.
So normally with our digital jam sessions, we allow our listeners and our viewers to follow the people that have been on our show. So if you have a social media handle of choice that you would like to share with our audience so they can track you down, follow you, find out more about you, stalk you, whatever it is, what would that be, starting from this end?
Mine is really cryptic. It's Joseph Milson on Twitter, etc.
Mine's a bit more complicated. It's Augusta_Woods1 on Twitter.
Okay. Underscores and numbers in there. Yes.
I know. I couldn't get the full one.
Mine's at Andrew Lee Potts, but also you can follow Wireless on Wireless... What is it? At Wireless_web.
There we go.
And I am at SimLDN.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Ryan.
you. Please watch Wireless, because everybody needs it.
Thumbs up.
We're now joined by Alexander Koch and Colin Ford from Under the Dome. So, in the context of what you guys do as an actor, sometimes you work with a real person in the room, sometimes you work with green screen, and that's what you're used to right now. Mm-hmm. What happens when that evolves into the next generation and you're in a room completely on your own at home and you are able to take part in a film because of the next generation of technology, whether that is VR stuff, whether it's AR stuff, whether it's AI stuff, whatever
Yeah, I
it
didn't
might
think
be.
about it like that. That's really interesting.
I think God, that would be a weird thing. To think you like get out of bed and then you go into the next room and it's just a green room and you're just like, oh, here comes a hologram of like Dean. And you're just talking to him. And, he was kind of joking about that throughout the year. He was like, oh, if we get a season 4, it'll just be all of us in a green screen the whole time.
But, I mean, from an acting perspective, obviously there's the tradition of working in theatre that some people are saying that if you want to be able to work in VR film, for example, you really need to have that discipline of theatre rather than necessarily film or movie kind of acting, because you really need to be able to improvise as you go.
I understand that. That's actually a great way to prepare for having to do something. If you're doing a project that requires a large amount of green screen work, that's actually a really great preparation method I hadn't thought of before. Thank you. You just gave me a tip.
You're welcome.
I think as like the Oculus Rift gets bigger and stuff like that, like the first movie that comes out like that is going to be insane. Like people just you're watching a movie and you see like James McAvoy in like a room and then I
just think it's cool, just the integration, like you said. I mean, you mentioned holograms. It's like, look at the Coachella Music Festival that happened a couple years ago with that Tupac hologram.
Yeah,
so
that was this guy.
I worked.
Oh, did you?
Oh, cool.
That's really amazing. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I hadn't seen anything like that before, and that was the first thing like that.
That's very cool.
We're now joined by Edward James Olmos, who talks to us about his experiences with Ridley Scott on Blade Runner in 1982.
Totally amazing. Blade Runner was probably one of the most extraordinary experiences I've had in filmmaking in my life. And it was all because of Ridley. Ridley Scott was truly very, very gifted filmmaker of the highest quality that I've ever worked with. And his production value was just superb from the very beginning. He introduced me to a style of filmmaking that I'd never seen before. And I'd been doing it for a while. And that was to bring the elements of all of the sound, all the scoring, all the special effects would work at the exact same time. So they were real. So things were flying, and Vangelis' music was being piped in by huge voice of the theater speakers from the tops of the buildings, two blocks worth. So there had to have been maybe 30 speakers, 15 on each side, blasting Vangelis while we were all working. And all the street scenes, when you see people walking in the streets and you hear Vangelis' music, we were listening to it while they were doing it. And so everybody had like a feeling for the piece. And you could feel it when you watch the people walking and, looking around, and you could know that they were all connected, all of them. And they had a rhythm to it, a life that I'd never seen on film before. And it was because, maybe a lot of people use that style now, but then in 1980, 81, I'd never seen it before. And I'm sure there are some filmmakers that have used it, but I wasn't exposed to it. And so I was very, very moved by it, and it changed my perspective on how to make film. I used that from that moment on, from 1980 on. It became the centerpiece of my character building. It was the musical concepts that were being used, so it was really great.
We're now joined by RJ Mitte, star of Breaking Bad.
So RJ, you've seen some of the technology that we've just shown you.
Yeah.
And I'd be really curious to understand from your perspective what kind of technology you would like to see that you think will help in the day-to-day operation of how you operate as an actor, but also as somebody who just utilises technology.
Honestly, I don't really utilize technology too much other than video games. I've seen some amazing technology in the advancement of a number of different aspects, like the facial recognition programs that we have now of what I just was, and how it molds to your face, and how it literally programs, like with that makeup one I did with the lips, it immediately jumps to the lips and the eyes. Mm-hmm. Like the one earlier with the war paint, it goes straight to the eyes and it fits around the face, and it cuts to this certain thing. And the thing is with this, we have the ability to incorporate that with film and television, and that really will help with so many things. The only thing is a lot of times it does take away from other jobs, as in a makeup artist or a number of things that it will slowly redo. But I think it's an amazing thing when you can enhance aspects of art and what you do, and facial recognition, to the voice command, to how a lot of 3D imaging, to processing, where like they take photos and then play molds. And I think it's really crazy with 3D printers of what you can build, and with claymation and all these different programs. And I feel like we have so much technology now that we just need to now condense it down, home it into what we can actually utilize it. We have all these different aspects, but at the same time we don't really know what to do with them. We have a general idea of what to do with them, but we still actually don't fully understand what we can do with them. And I think right now, when it comes to our technology, I think we need to instead of trying to catch up to Marty McFly's future that we just passed, but let alone understand what we already have and utilize what we have, and home these talents. And it used to be where they would fix it and fix it and fix it and fix it. Now it's not about just fixing that product, but creating the next new product that they want. And they don't even really create the next new product. They copy it and send it right out. And we need to condense that down and actually understand what we have when it comes to technology. And I think it's amazing what we can do with it. And I think we have the ability to do so much and change so many different ideas and futures. And I think for me personally, I like robotics and engineering when it comes to prosthetics and mobility. For me, that's a really amazing thing to watch. I have a lot of friends that are paraplegic, that are missing limbs, that are in certain ways going into facilities, and some of them get strapped into these suits and walk again. First time they've walked in 20, 30 years since they were a child, and they're walking again. And yes, with help, but they're still walking, and I think we have the ability to continue to advance that.
So what's your view on something like 3D printing that is allowing people to be able to print those custom limbs? Or
yeah, it's amazing. There was something, I think it was I'm getting it mixed up. I just saw where Robert Downey Jr. did the Tony Stark with the kid where he made the Iron Man arm.
That was a 3D
That was a 3D. That was a 3D printed arm, and that was amazing. And I think we have the power. And the thing is, it's not that expensive. It's just the equipment itself to get it is expensive, but the process after you have the equipment, it's very, very cheap, and we can have access with that. And I think that we have the ability now to give people so much more than what we actually give them, especially with our technology. And I think it is growing, and I think I'm excited to see what we have for the future when it comes to robotics and replacing limbs and printing organs, and that's creating things that we really need that we necessarily have been neglecting for a very long time.
Okay, so one of the questions we always ask on our digital jam sessions is, what would be the most significant cultural change or technological change that you think needs to happen in the next 5 to 10 years that would completely change your industry for you? So from your perspective, what do you think that might be?
I as a whole, and not just for the industry, but as life in general, I think what we need to affect change in is how we perceive disability. Disability is the only thing that is known to man, in my opinion, that does not discriminate. It doesn't care what religion you are, it doesn't care what race you are, it doesn't care where you're from or who you are or what you are doing. It will affect you, it does affect you, it does affect what you are, and this is the thing, is that we can affect the mindset of children and how they perceive disability and what they see of disability as a pro versus a con, and how to teach them that these challenges and these obstacles are knowledge and power, and utilize them to the fullest of their ability instead of just relying and going back and sitting in front of whatever they're sitting in front of and not homing in on their body. When it comes to technology, I go back to the 3D printing of mechanical moving parts for prosthetics, the 3D printing of a number of different obstacles, and also cochlear implants and different apparatuses for hearing and vision and speech. And there's these things where they implant computer chips into the brain to actually give it a better processor. We're in this stage. One day when it's all said and done, I will probably be a cyborg. All this is getting replaced, man. Bones, tendons, everything, man. I'm doing it.
You're up for it.
I'm already up for it, man. I'm gonna go for that. The $6 million man, You got RoboCop here.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
We're now joined by Nolan North, who appears in titles such as Uncharted, Star Wars: The Old Republic, and Batman. He can now be seen in the Con Man series.
Obviously, you work in this crossover space between games, film. You have a bit of a hand in both of these arenas.
I'm a jack of all trades, master of none.
And VR is where people are saying the next generation of technology is going to go, and what that means for actors, what that means for directors in terms of storytelling, in terms of performance. What do you think that's going to mean for you in your job?
I think it's really interesting. I'm not sure. I've tried some of the technology. I did a couple of the games. I've done one with Sony. I've tried the Oculus VR, playing the game with the Jason Statham looking characters.
Like, no, guys, shoot the guy on the top. Hey, get the guy on the motorcycle. Oh, don't miss.
And it was a lot of fun. The funny part is somebody videotaped me doing it, and there you are, just kind of messing around. As an actor, I don't know. The only thing is that it can only make the world a little bit more realistic. I think it's an amazing technology that for me, it's something that it's Star Trek, it's the Jetsons, it's crazy, the idea that you can have that. So, the thing about it is, if you just for PlayStation 3 comes out, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, Uncharted 3, same PlayStation. The differences between the two are amazing. And the point is, over just a short number of years, what they were able to learn from that machine. My point being, VR is in its infancy. It hasn't even been born, really. It's still cooking in there. It's just, and I think it's really exciting. I think I talked to someone a lot about this. I think the biggest challenge that they told me was sometimes you can actually get motion sick. Yep. So there's too many things. Because I was like, oh man, it'd be so cool if you're in a racing game and you could look over at the other driver. And he said, yeah, the problem is some of those weaving and people can get nauseous. And I was like, take a pill, something, because that would be really cool. So there are new challenges, but that's the great thing about this industry. The gaming industry, people say, "Oh, well, you've." Somebody told me, they said, "Well, you've conquered video gaming. So, what are you going to kind of quit that and go because I'm doing convent. You're going to go more toward your on-camera stuff." And I never stopped. It's not like I'm going to limit myself. I'm a fan of this industry. I'm a terrible gamer, but I'm a big fan of this industry because I don't think any other part of the entertainment industry is pushing the boundaries as much as this medium. They're trying things, they're experimenting with things, they're coming up with new, creative, interesting technologies and games. I can't wait to see where it goes because the industry's been very, very good to me, and I'm going to stick with it and see what happens. I remember when I got offered this first thing, somebody said it was motion capture, and a bunch of my actor friends were like, "What are you, crazy?" I said, "You're going to go all the way down there, you're going to dress up, and they're going to pay the same as I get to sit with, you got to shave, you got to do all this." What? But I thought to myself, yeah, but it should be fun.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
Thank you so much. We're joined by Ian McKellen, Ian Beattie, and Eugene Simon from Game of Thrones. We want to ask you some questions around what you think the future is going to be for you as actors, bearing in mind that we're seeing a next generation of technology such as VR filmmaking. Okay. How is that going to change for you? You talked earlier about putting on the costume helps you to get into that physicality. As a VR film actor, how is that going to change the way that you work?
I think the entire process has changed from the very beginning when digital first made its appearance on the scene.
Yeah.
I am extraordinarily excited about the future as an actor and as a viewer because I don't think we've ever had it so good. Social media, the way it is kicked off, the way the younger audience, the 16-year-olds, the 17-year-olds, the 18-year-olds are now sharing information, communicating, and what they're watching. Never been so excited in my life. It's changed the whole process. It's go, 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 go. It's not as expensive to shoot digital as it is to shoot the old film that had to be printed up and sealed, and if there was a hair in the gate, that was that take ruined. It's opened up a huge world of possibilities. I have no idea where the future is going, but I am so excited.
But it's going there at a rate that has never been seen before. I mean, actors are going to have to start doing on a regular basis, practicing the ability to actually work constantly with the non-existent. I mean, even since Harry Potter, working with Gollum in Lord of the Rings or working with the house elf in Harry Potter, I mean, you're having to constantly now work with visual effects that aren't there in the first place. So that's going to be very demanding, but really quite exciting to see how actors in time will interact with that.
I wonder, is this slightly a generational thing? Green screen, I find green screen, it's something you have to do as part of our world now. Intensely boring. I think, when you have only green screen and you're having to create so much around you, A, it's very difficult, B, it feels very unreal, and C, I think it's pretty boring to have to do. That said, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but, I would rather be in a real world with real people doing real things. I'm much more happy with that. And also the idea of somehow or another having your face reconstituted or remastered, all sorts of things done to it. Fine, but I love the fact, and one of the nice things about Game of Thrones is that we actually do proper scenes with proper people most of the time, And that's still the most satisfying thing as an actor.
Social media.
Exactly.
Unless you're a vegan, you've got to touch a fake dragon,
I would miss out on that.
So on the other flip end of that, just bearing in mind we're talking about the VR film, the technical end of it. What about immersive theatre as an emerging art form that we're seeing more and more people now getting involved in live action, immersive theatre, the experiential theatre that actually draws the audience into having an influence on the outcomes or having direct interaction with the actors. So it's not the promenade theatre that you're used to, but actually true immersive theatre. So flipping it to the other end of the spectrum.
I'm sorry to be done, but when you say theatre, are you talking about cinema?
No,
or actual theatre, literally full on theatre, on the stage, right? Sorry, because Americans are moving.
I've never had that experience except inadvertently, where you find an audience member gets sufficiently engrossed that they start calling out to you or responding to you. And that happens from time to time. And sometimes it's like, I wish to God they'd shut up so I can get on with this. And sometimes it's actually quite galvanising and can be kind of interesting and fun. But except when it's happened incidentally, I haven't had any experience of that. I like doing theatre, again, observing the fourth wall and playing it as if we're in this world and you're people observing this world that we're in. I much prefer fourth wall theatre to theatre that is about engaging directly with an audience or talking out to an audience. Again, if it comes along and that's the way the industry goes, I'm certainly willing to give it a go. I think as an actor, your first job is to say always, well, let's give it a go. Because until you give it a go, you don't know, and you find out. But I have a feeling that non-immersive theatre, if you like, is where I personally would prefer to be.
I personally am not that big a fan of theatre acting. I wanted to be an actor since I was 8, and I was always going to be an actor. And never once did I think it was going to be theatre. For me, I love film. I love television. I love it. I love being in front of a camera. I love watching the results of camera work. I just love film sets and television sets, and I always have, and I always will. So immersive theatre, as good an idea as it sounds, I would certainly be a curious audience member. I would be horrified if I was in it. Please, just leave me on the film set, in front of this green screen for a month if you have to.
I think that he's right. Particularly now, TV is such an extraordinary job to have nowadays. But I mean, when it comes to theatre, I just went the other day to see Henry V of the Royal Shakespeare Company, and then I went to see The Seagull at Chichester Festival Theatre. Both of them within the past 2 weeks. And traditional, if you can even call it that, theatre where you are honestly in the presence of something that is so captivating that you are silenced, theatre that silences you and keeps you in that dimension is just so satisfying. So I'd be certainly very interested to see how theatre develops, but at the moment the old-fashioned stuff keeps me happy.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us for this Comic-Con special. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to subscribe and review, and keep an ear out for more Comic-Con sessions.
digitaljamsessions.com